Whalefall, Gone and Forgotten. Episode 3, The Watcher in the Woods. Right. Another one. Of course, there's another one. Field notes, file 3, recording at... Really? Recording at 4:35 a.m. I woke up about an hour ago to the sound of... I don't know, really. It might have been footsteps, but it was most likely this old damn building settling. Creaks all day. Anyway, I eventually got up to make some tea to calm my nerves when, lo and behold, I guess the house wants to give me some kind of bedtime story. I can hear it now. Its breathing sounds like the rattle of coyote teeth in an old bone, the popping of bear jaws and slithering things that make you feel cold in the hot sun. I can't count the number of footsteps because the number of feet it has changes with the wind. It smells like the sickly sweetness of rotting flesh and cucumbers, smacking your nose like unexpected roadkill and the burn of a wasp sting. I can't tell you what it looks like because I don't know anymore. Every day it adds another set of jaws, another hoof, another 1,000 sets of eyes. I suppose it could have simply always just been eyes. Its strange and horrible shape could just be a tool to hold the glinting things that stare into all of me. I first caught a glimpse of it through the window of my new home. I had only just finished the work of building it and was all but prepared to send for my wife to join me all the long way from the coastal settlements. We were supposed to be happy here. We were meant to forge new lives and make a haven for our children. These mountains were meant to be a new start for us. And oh, how wrong we were. This place is where babies are sent into the woods, into the dark, and told not to come back until they are men. I thought it was a deer. 2 pricks of light shining in the dark of the early morning. It was just past the tree line, where sun and lantern light cannot reach. The reflected glow of them floating in the fog was all I could see. I named it a deer and moved on with my day. I worked in the garden and prepared the property for my wife's arrival. It wasn't until nightfall, when I was finishing up with dinner by the light of my candle, did I see it again. The eye still hung there, in the exact same spot. It was as if the creature hadn't moved an inch for hours. And then, just a bit lower, was another set of eyes. A fawn, maybe. I drew my curtains close and extinguished my candle, deciding right then to turn in for the night. The next morning, I grabbed my gun and hiked through the brush to where the eyes had been. I'd expected to find droppings, maybe some tracks beneath the leaves. Of course, there was nothing. That's how these stories always go. I kept my eyes low on the way back to the house. I could see no eyes, but that watched feeling, the one of being stared into, settled over me like a blanket of fog. The hair on the back of my neck rose, skin turning to goose flesh. Eyes down, gun shaking, pants soaked in piss, I fled home, the sound of a rattler thick in my ears. I didn't leave the house for the rest of the day. I didn't know it then, I swear, but that little expedition must have been my greatest error. I know it caught my scent then. I know it must have made out the shape of me and deemed me prey. When I finally recovered my nerve enough to leave my home, I found the presence of others to be a great relief. No watched feeling could linger too harshly when it could be explained away by some distracted child in town. I collected my needs from the butcher and the smith, but found myself reluctant to return home. I just know the moment I step on that cursed path back to my cabin, that watched feeling will descend upon me again, and there will be no children or lost neighbor to explain it away. Along the path home, I once again kept my eyes low. The people who have been in this town much longer than I gave me warnings. Keep the curtains closed at night, don't whistle in the woods, don't let it know you have seen it. I tried to keep them in mind, but my heart thumped in my throat and competed with my lungs for room for air. By the time I reached my own land, I was gasping and shaking, though luckily had managed not to soil myself this time. I didn't see it that night, and oh, how deeply I slept. I sank into my bed, snug beneath the blankets, and believed for all the world that that flimsy cloth would keep me safe. I rose that morning well rested and recovered, setting about my chores with renewed energy that felt so foreign it made me giddy. I built the last of the flower beds, swept out the barn, and polished the windows to a brilliant shine. I worked well into the evening, allowing the sun to begin its descent before I turned in for dinner. That was the last time I saw the sun. The trees on these mountains are close, choking even, narrow posts that hold up the sky and bark-lined columns not bending for anyone but the good Lord, or I suppose a man with a big enough axe. I'd only just finished a chapter in the book I was reading when I looked up, just for a moment, at the window. I know I closed the curtains just as the townsfolk had instructed me. But there they were, pulled back and leaving the window for all the world to see. Outside that window, I could barely see the trees by the light of my lantern. The spaces between them were pitch black, save for the hundreds of glinting white eyes. It was impossible to look away. Every inch of space was filled with eyes. I stared back at them for what felt like hours. The thing that broke me of my trance wasn't a noise, but of movement in my peripheral vision. Another window, this one just above the kitchen sink that I hadn't put curtains on yet, full of eyes. At that point, I could barely hear anything but my own heartbeat. I ran up the stairs to my bedroom, locking the door behind me and sliding a trunk in front of it for good measure. My shotgun, like always, was next to my bed. I hefted it to my shoulder and racked it with a clack. It was only then that I noticed the window to my left. The curtains I didn't think to shut being on the second story, wide open and staring, just like the eyes that stared through every inch of the window. They were everywhere. Nothing in the window was visible but those eyes. I was stuck, rooted to the spot, and locked in eye contact. They reflected in the mirror I had set on the wall, the one I'd put up for my wife to use. It became very clear to me that she would never get to see this fine house. The mirror I'd hung for her. Flower beds. I don't know when I ran from the house. I just remember the running. My lungs were suddenly burning, my heart spasmed and pounded in my ears. I'd lost my gun at some point and had never bothered to put on shoes. My feet were cut to bloody ribbons and caked to the ankle in mud. Leaves and sticky vines whipped my face and eyes. I only risked a look behind me once. I could hear it loping behind me, taking long, predatory strides. When I turned, I couldn't see the shape of it because it had no shape. It shifted and rippled like bent light in a heat wave. What passed for flesh was scabbed and flaking 1 minute, then flecked with mangy fur. Its limbs were thick and muscle-bound, and stretched into the lanky gracefulness of a deer as the hooves, or were they claws now, struck the ground in a many-legged rumble. Jaws snapped and slobbered, sealed shut, then reopened somewhere else. Horns and antlers cracked open and splayed out, leaking a foul-smelling fluid that sizzled and popped as it hit the ground. Everywhere that wasn't teeth and talon was filled with eyes. Blazing points in the dark, its rotten light turned a putrid, sulphurous orange. The smell, it was like the worst mixture of swamp muck and rotten flesh, poisonous things boiled with offal and disease. Its roar was 1,000 death rattles and the screams of every creature taken from this world too young. I ran and ran and didn't stop until I found the old shack. It was moss-laden and sagging under its own weight. Its floor was little more than mulch. Its door was not. The empty doorway opened into a maw of damp air and lightless oblivion. And I had no other choice. I huddled inside, heaving air and making myself as small as possible in the darkest corner. I could still hear its thundering, constantly changing footsteps growing ever closer outside. It let out another horrible cry that shook my very bones and rattled my eyes and my skull. I don't know if it was that rattling that gave me away, but it was then that all of the eyes turned to me as one. They filled the empty doorway, the hollow window, even the gaps in the walls. They were everywhere. I can hear it now. The snuffling breath, the wet, sucking sound of its breathing as it takes in air through rotten lungs. It runs through these woods in its inconsistent shaped muscles stretching, bunching, and shifting into new, impossible forms. It is fluid and it is solid and it howls to the sky with too many mouths and too many teeth. I understand it now. The joy, the thrill of it all. It sees through me and sings with my voice. My jaws and teeth and bones are fluid. I am the watcher, and the watcher is me. I am fluid and solid, and my eyes are glowing things in your window. My jaws and hearts snap as one, and a crown of fresh lungs heaves air into shifting cavities in my chest. Claws made of possum ribs gouge the earth and leave nothing but ruins behind. We are the watcher in the woods, 1,000 screaming impossibilities running along on feet that do not stay what they are. I found this file, story, statement, I don't know what to call them yet, on my desk. I guess I should probably find a name for them, if they're gonna keep showing up. At least the person in this story, well, I don't know their name. It doesn't give me a name to look for. So I can't even check if they're real. Less work for me, I guess. Although, I don't think there would be much to find, given the ending of this story. I don't think I'm gonna look into this one very much. I mean, I don't have any information to go on besides that it sounds like it was written, recorded a while ago. The whole sending for your wife once the property is done, that's an older form of land management, I guess. But aside from that, I have nothing to go on. So I won't be looking into it. I have enough to work on already. I think I'm going to take back the bedtime story comment. This one is most likely some sort of Borders manifestation, like the one about this cabin. Spreading gossip about your friends, are you? I don't know how much I like all the watching references lately. I get enough weird looks when I go into town. But that could be about the dead body issue. I've managed to get my contacts in law enforcement to work on getting me access to the victim, but there's nothing yet. These small town cops are rather cagey with their information. Not a surprise, I guess. I'll send another tape soon. End notes. Personal log. This one is, I don't want to think about the possible footsteps I heard, so I won't. It's just an old house, and yet I don't think I'll be sleeping anymore tonight. It is very quiet here, not just silent. I don't think I ever really knew the difference before. Here, far away from all the noise of cars, you can hear so much more. A katydid scared me earlier. It landed on my window and screamed so loud I thought it was in the room with me. Odd, isn't it? I was sent here to look into a dead body, but instead I'm getting spooked by bugs. End log. Whalefall, Gone and Forgotten, Episode 3, The Watcher in the Woods, was written, edited, and produced by Kat Duncan. Hello, that's me. I play Ophelia Colt as well, our lovely little main character. Isn't she fun? Isn't she quirky? Can't believe I just said the word quirky. Anyway, I hope you guys are having fun. I'm having a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm still trying to post these once a month. By the time this one comes out, the semester, my last year of my BFA will be in full swing, so that's fun. So I hope, I hope this is my bit of respite from that. Okay, love you, bye.